Jungleman has been considered to be one of the best players in the world for over 15 years. But how does his game hold up right now? Let's take a look.
Jungle spices it up. 2,500 to go. Back to Henry now.
First hand here sees Mariano raising to $300, getting called by L and Effin. And now we have Jungleman in the small blind with his ace 5 of clubs, deciding to do something a little fancy. Calling here would be totally reasonable, but he does decide to put in a 3-bet to $2,500. Henry from the straddle right behind him wakes up with pocket tens and decides to make a 4-bet to $6,100. It gets folded out to Jungleman, and of course he makes the call with his ace 5 of clubs here. The raise was a small one from Henry, so I like this call from Jungle. We take the king 9-3 flop with one club out there, giving Jungleman a backdoor flush draw and a backdoor wheel draw as well. Henry is not a huge fan of this flop. Given that a king is out there, Jungleman can easily have a king in his range. So it does go check, check.
With the flop here, deuce on the turn. Jungle does turn a wheel draw here. Still behind the pocket tens of Henry. Action on Jungle.
That's very novel.
And we take the 2 of diamonds on the turn, which gives Jungleman a gut shot straight draw, and Henry still has his second pair that he had on the flop. I would really like to see a bet from Jungleman here on this 2 of diamonds, considering that his ace 5 is almost never going to be good if this pot goes check, 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 and also the fact that he blocks ace king that can be in Henry's range by having an ace in his hand. He does decide to bet, but $5,300, which is kind of a small sizing here, less than half pot. I prefer a little bit bigger of a bet here. I would go $7,000 to $8,000 range.
Gonna bet 5,300 and a 13K.
I might have pocket jacks. That's my style.
This sizing gives Henry a very easy call right here on the turn. He does decide to make that call, and we take the 5 of spades on the river.
So you got a set. You could
After Jungle 3-bet pre-flop.
You could have pocket queens.
I'm very curious to see what Jungleman does here. I think turning this into a bluff does make sense here, because Henry can have a lot of hands like pocket tens, pocket jacks, pocket queens that check back on this flop and are now going to be in a very difficult situation, right? We have to remember Henry did put in a 4-bet here pre-flop, so his range is very top heavy and it's very narrow. Okay, so a big portion of that range is going to be those hands, those big middling pairs. Now he's going to have some kings as well. He might have some like king queen or some king jack that he checked back the flop with, but most likely he would be making a continuation on the flop with those kind of holdings. So I think Jungleman is really going to peg him with those middling pocket pair kind of hands. He ends up turning the hand into a bluff and betting almost full pot size here, which I love. I love this play from Jungleman. This puts Henry in a very difficult situation with the hand that he's holding, the pocket tens, although he could have jacks and queens too and also be in a difficult situation with those holdings as well. Let's see what Henry does.
Henry breaking down the range, counting out the chips. He's got the 5, he's got the 4 or 5Ks in his hand. 3 100s for the $20,300 call here. And he finds a fold. He gets it through. Jungleman
I will show you one card.
gets the bluff through.
Our next hand sees Jungleman raising his ace-queen offsuit from early position to $1,400. Partial from the cutoff 3-bets to $4,000 with his ace-king. Then Dan as well has ace-king suited on the button, and he 4-bets to $13,500. It gets back around to Jungleman, and I'd like to see a fold here from him, considering he raised from early position, then got 3-bet, and then there was a cold 4-bet, and now it's coming back to him. Ace-queen offsuit just doesn't seem so good anymore, but he decides to make a fancy little 5-bet here to $36,000 pre-flop into both these players with the intention of folding if one of them jams it in. I don't really like it, but it does seem very, very, very strong, and it could work. Okay, so I don't hate it, let's say. After some agonizing, Herschel gets out of the way, and it gets back to Dan, who decides to just make a call here. Now, this call is pretty strong in this situation. Considering Jungleman put in a 5-bet and Dan calls here, we're looking at hands like ace queen suited, maybe ace king suited, pocket jacks, queens, kings, aces. That's Dan's range. It is so strong in this spot for the most part. Maybe he has the occasional like king queen suited in there or something like that, but for the most part this is a very, very strong range being flatted here, and very well can be pocket kings or pocket aces. But we know it's ace king suited. We've got $77,000 in the middle, and we're taking a flop. Queen 10-6 on the flop with 2 hearts, giving Jungleman top pair, top kicker, and giving Dan a royal flush draw. Jungleman makes a continuation bet of $20,000. I really like this sizing. I would have probably sized it a tad bigger, but I like it generally speaking. I might have went like 25, 30 or something like that, but I'm just nitpicking a little bit.
How much?
It looks like Dan's going to put in the raise right away.
Dan raises to $80,000 here, and now Jungleman is in a pickle, okay? Some of you watching this might be like, what are you talking about, Jack? He's going to put the rest of the money in, and that's going to be that. Easy peasy. But wait a second, guys. Let's really break this down.
I don't know about this size. This size seems like a blunder to me. I think Dan's played solid all night, but first of all, raising on this flop, not so sure about. But if you are going to raise, this is not the size.
We have to remember, this is a 5-bet pot, okay? So the ranges are extremely narrow from both players, and they're very high up. When Dan puts in this raise of $80,000 here post-flop, let's think about the hands that he would do this with, okay? He could have pocket 10s. He could have pocket queens, although pocket queens would probably just flat. So we'll leave pocket queens out for now. Let's say he has pocket 10s, pocket kings, pocket aces, maybe ace queen at the absolute bottom of the hands that he would do this with. I can guarantee you that he probably wouldn't ever do this with a hand like king queen. So we're taking king queen out of it. It's either ace queen, pocket 10s, pocket kings, or pocket aces.
Jungleman, this looks insanely strong. Really looks like Dan has queens or 10s.
And then in terms of the bluffs, we call them bluffs with quotation marks because the bluffs here are going to be ace king of hearts, ace jack of hearts. That's the best case scenario for Jungleman. So if we think about the range looking like that, and very likely that it's not going to be some kind of bluff here from Dan, because like I said, where is he going to pull the bluffs from? This is a 5-bet pop pre-flop, and it's just the ranges are just too tight in this situation. There's just nowhere to have bluffs from. Like, Dan doesn't have a hand like king jack suited to then go ahead and bluff it. Like, he just doesn't have this pre-flop, I don't think. But Dan's range is super strong here. I'd love to see Jungleman find some kind of ninja fold here. I know you might be thinking of it like it's nuts to have top pair, top kicker, and find a fold, but Dan's raising range on this flop is just absolutely absurdly strong. And ace king of hearts is about the bottom of it.
Can you run it out?
Jungleman makes a fold. I think overall that's probably a really good fold there. I think overall in a vacuum it's a good fold. I think Dan's just going to have aces, queens, and 10s there almost all the time.
Jungleman ends up making an amazing fold. He's playing great so far. Our next hand here is going to see Jungleman get into a very difficult situation. We start off with Nick Airball raising to $2,000 with his 8-6 of diamonds, and Jungleman wakes up with ace-queen offsuit from the hijack and 3-bets to $8,000. Airball makes the call, and we take an 8-7-2 flop with 2 diamonds out there, giving Nick Airball top pair and a flush draw.
Check raise going to be incoming here if Dan goes for the C bet, and there it is.
Jungle goes for a continuation bet of $6,000, and Nick Airball makes a very small check raise here to $16,000. Now, I'd like to see Jungleman fold right here, but I know he's not going to. If he had any diamond in his hand, this call would be fine. Ace Queen with no diamond is just not going to cut it here. So I don't like this call. The turn brings an ace of diamonds, properly punishing Mr. Jungleman. He now has top pair while Airball just made a flush. Airball decides to play his hand kind of tricky here. He checks it on over to Jungleman, knowing that Jungle is probably gonna bet this ace, but Jungle doesn't take the bait. I love this check from Jungleman. Why? Because the range that Nick Airball check raises on this flop with, he could have hands like 8-7 suited, he could have hands like a set He could have hands like a flush that he's playing this way and being tricky on the turn. So Jungleman doesn't see a reason to bet the turn, and it's not going to be very often here where Jungle bets the turn and the river and is able to get 2 streets of value here against the range that Nick Airball check raised the flop with. Let's say Nick Airball had a hand like something like a 10-8 or a Jack-8 or a King-8 or something like that he check raised the flop. Maybe he calls a turn bet, but he probably doesn't call a river bet. So I really like this pot control from Jungle on the turn. And the Queen of Hearts on the river is bound to bring fireworks.
This table can't shut up.
You want to bet?
Hold on.
And Nick
Terrace,
Airball, flush,
I will bet
check
you
the turn,
1K
punch stand, top 2.
that you did not
Big
have
bets
ace-five
incoming
of
here.
diamonds.
1K.
This gives Jungleman top 2 pair, and Airball still has a very disguised flush. Airball decides to make a bet of $75,000 into a pot of $50,000 here. Airball is obviously repping something like a flush or a set when he makes this sizing, but the way this hand played out, Jungle there's just no chance that he can find a fold. He does end up making the call, which I like. He saved some money here. He didn't lose it all.
You're that confident.
Oh,
my God.
Now we have an issue.
This next hand here is a massive one. Jungle raises from early position to $1,200 with his ace queen of clubs. Bobo right behind him makes a 3-bet with queen 9 suited to $3,000. Jungle 4-bets to $10,000. Bobo makes the call.
Flush draw for Jungleman. Going to be very difficult for Bobo to figure out a way to win this one.
And we take the 8-8-2 flop with 2 clubs out there, giving Jungleman a flush draw and giving Bobo absolutely nothing. Jungle makes a continuation bet of $6,500, and Bobo is obviously just going to get out of the way.
20.
Or not. Okay, he decides to raise it up to $20,000 with absolutely nothing. Jungleman now has a decision to either raise right here on the flop or just call. I personally like just calling in this situation. Now, Bobo can easily have an 8 in this kind of spot, and if Jungleman raises, then Bobo makes an all-in or something like that, then Jungleman's going to be in this terrible spot where he's just going to have to pay off all the money. I like playing a little bit more cautiously here and making a call. He does make the call, which I like, and we take the 9 of diamonds on the turn, which now gives Bobo the best hand.
And the question is, how much money is he willing to put in the pot to get Jungleman to fold?
Jungle checks, and Bobo bets $25,000 right here on the turn. Now, if I'm Jungleman staring at this bet, this is kind of a weird sizing here. This is less than half pot. If Bobo had an 8 here, or if Bobo had a hand like pocket 2s or pocket 9s, I think he would bet a lot bigger, trying to get value from Jungleman's big over pairs, like aces, kings, queens, jacks, those kind of hands. Now, when Bobo bets this 25,000 sizing, what I'm thinking is that Bobo has some kind of middling pair here. A hand like what he has, like a bluff that just made a pair of 9s, or a hand like pocket 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, maybe pocket 10s, something like that he wants to bet the turn to then check back the river and play a small pot. Okay, so I think he's got a cap range here in this spot. So if I'm Jungleman, I'm actually gonna want to raise here, and I would raise here with my over pairs as well, like a pocket jacks, queens, kings, aces, to really punish those kind of hands that are trying to bet the turn here in position to then check back the river and try to play a cheap little pot. So I'd like to see Jungleman make a raise of about $85,000 to $90,000 here. Somewhere in that range is what I'd like to see. If Jungleman does decide to find this raise to like the $85,000 that I'd like to see him raise to, it's very reasonable to assume that Bobo is going to fold those middling pocket pairs that he has in his range in this spot. We have to remember that the pre-flop raise here was a very small 3-bet from Bobo. So that's the reason why he could potentially have hands like pocket 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, and 10s and stuff like that. Generally speaking, you won't see 3-bets from those kind of holdings, but a small 3-bet when you're playing super, super deep is reasonable Yes, he might not have a ton of 3s, 4s, 5s, and stuff like that, but he's gonna have the 6s, 7s, 10s, those kind of holdings. And that's why I want to see Jungle make this raise, because those kind of hands can easily find the fold here if Jungle can find the raise here.
And he's going to raise. Wow, this is getting really interesting. By the way, on the flop, I almost just figured Bobo was drawing dead unless he could get bluff him.
Jungle does ultimately decide to bump it up to $60,000. I don't like this sizing, guys. I would like to see it a little bit bigger, but I love the raise. I love the raise. I love it. But the sizing is just a little bit too small for my liking. Bobo is now probably going to come along with some of those hands we talked about, and then maybe he finds some kind of river call. Bobo does end up making the call. We've got a pot of $180,000. and Bobo has $154,000 behind. I want to say that I made a huge misjudgment on the sizing because I thought Bobo had more chips left behind, but seeing the pot size here on the turn of 180,000 and Bobo having 154,000 behind, I all of a sudden now love Jungleman's size, and that's the exact size that I would have chose in game. 3 of hearts on the river puts in a complete blank card.
Can Jungleman fire one more time? Bobo's got 154 left. There's 181 in the pot. What does Bobo do if Jungleman moves all in?
And if I'm Jungleman here, I'm gonna continue to tell this story. And the only reason is, if you think about Jungleman's range here, okay, we talk about the 10-8 suited, the 8-7 suited, could even have a hand like 9-8 suited that has just a full house now, pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, pocket jacks, those kind of holdings. And if we think about the bluffs, the only bluffs here that I want to have if I'm Jungleman are 2 big clubs. There's no other hand I'm bluffing on the turn. So considering we have all these value hands in our range, and the only real bluff that we would bluff the turn here with a check raise are hands like ace queen of clubs, king queen of clubs, ace jack of clubs, those kind of holdings. So considering those are our only bluffs, I really want to see an all-in here from Jungleman because this line looks so strong. It looks so strong. The hand played this way will look so strong. I want to see a jam here from Jungle.
The green chip, like a cherry on top. Jungleman is going for it. It looks like 126.
126.
That is almost all of Bobo's chips.
Jungle decides to put on his big boy pants and make a bet of $126,000 here, which almost puts Bobo all in. Now, I'd prefer just an all-in, but $126,000 probably is about the same as an all-in in this situation. Another incredible hand played by Jungleman.
And he lets it go. What a bluff.
Show bluff. Show bluff.
Oh, I can't bluff here.
Yeah, you can.
No. Nah, Mickey can't bluff here.
Oh my God. Show us. Come on. Show us one time.
You want to see?
Okay. Oh, show.
Okay.
Yeah, we can
Okay, maybe I bluff.
Oh.
Overall, I think Jungleman played incredible poker. I still think he's insanely good in this day and age. And if you're looking to improve your poker game, then click on the link in the pinned comment down below, and I'll show you the 5 leaks that are costing you money and how to fix them for free. And if you're here just for the content, then hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video.